Hello everyone and welcome to... Just forget it today. It's raining. I got my tea here. I'm going to read The Little Prince to you. I want you to listen and try to forget the problems for just a minute.
I forgot all about being a child until something miraculous happened. I've always wanted to find someone to share his story with, but I don't know, I guess this world just got too grown up.
When I was 6 years old, I once saw a magnificent picture in a book on the virgin forest called Stories of Life. It was a boa constrictor that had swallowed a wild beast. It was written in the book, boa constrictors swallow their whole prey without chewing. Then they cannot move and they sleep for like 6 months during the digestion. That's such a long time. I then thought a lot about the adventures of the jungle and in turn succeeded with a colored pencil in drawing my very first drawing. It was like this. I showed my masterpiece to the grown-ups and asked them if the drawing frightened them. They said, "Why would a hat be scary?" My drawing was not of a hat. It was a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. I then drew the inside of the boa constrictor so that the grown-ups could understand. They always require more explanation. My second drawing was like this. The grown-ups advised me to leave aside the drawings of boa constrictors from the outside or the inside and to interest myself instead in geography, history, calculations, and grammar. Thus, at the age of 6, I abandoned a magnificent career as a painter. I had been discouraged by the failure of my first drawing and of the second. Grown-ups never understand anything on their own, and it is tiring for children to always have to give them explanations. I learned to fly the planes. I flew all over the world. And geography, that's right, served me well. I knew how to recognize at first glance China or Arizona. It is useful if you have gone astray during the night. I have had in course of my life a lot of contact with many serious people. I have lived among the grown-ups. I saw them up close. I did not really improve my opinion of them. When I met one that seemed to me a little lucid, I had them experience my drawing number 1, which I had preserved. I wanted to know if they could come to a real understanding, but they always replied, "It's a hat." At that I spoke to them neither of boa constrictors, nor of virgin forests, nor of stars. I put myself within their reach. I talked about bridge, golf, politics, and ties. And the grown-ups were glad to know such a reasonable man. So I lived alone with no one to talk to until a breakdown in the Sahara desert 6 years ago. Something had broken in my engine, and since I had neither a mechanic nor a passenger with me, I prepared to try by myself to make a difficult reprieve. It was a matter of life and death. I had hardly any water to drink for a week. The first night, I fell asleep on the sand, 1,000 miles from my inhabited region. It was much more isolated than a castaway on a raft in the middle of the ocean. Then you imagine my surprise at dawn when a funny little voice woke me up.
Please draw me a sheep.
Huh?
If you please draw me a sheep.
I jumped on my feet as if I had been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes well. I watched and I saw a very extraordinary little man who looked at me gravely. I had been discouraged in my career as a painter by the grown-ups at the age of 6, and I had learned nothing to draw except closed boas and open boas. Do not forget that I was 1,000 miles from any inhabited region. Now my little fellow seemed to me neither astray, nor dead of fatigue, nor dead of hunger, nor dead of thirst, nor dead of fear. He had not the appearance of a child lost in the middle of desert, 1,000 miles from any inhabited region. When I finally succeeded in speaking, I said to him, "What are you doing here?" And he repeated to me very gently as a very serious thing,
Draw me a sheep.
When a mystery is too overpowering, one dare not disobey.
As absurd as it seemed to me, 1,000 miles from all inhabited places and in danger of death, I took out of my pocket a sheet of paper and a pen. But I remembered that I had studied geography, history, calculation, and grammar.
Draw? I don't know how to draw.
That doesn't matter.
As I had never drawn a sheep, I thought of him as one of the only 2 drawings of which I was capable, that of the boa closed. And I was astonished to hear the little fellow reply, No, I do not want an elephant in a boa. A boa is very dangerous and an elephant is very cumbersome. My place is tight. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep. I drew then.
The first sheep I drew was too sickly. And the second one, not to his liking either.
Don't you see? That's not a sheep. This is a ram. It has horns.
And this one was...
Too old. I want a sheep that will live for a long time.
So I drew this. The sheep you asked for is inside.
But I was much surprised to see the face of my young judge illuminated.
That is exactly the way I wanted it. Do you think the sheep will eat a great deal of grass? Because where I live, everything is very small.
Well, I'm sure there'll be enough grass for him. He's a very small sheep.
He leaned his head toward the drawing. Not so small as that. He fell asleep. And so I made the acquaintance of the little prince.